finally back.
Yeah, I am.
So we finally got our first look at Force Season 3, which is returning this fall, and we are going to get into the potential release date in just a moment, as well as taking a look at the synopsis, and there's also the first look images. But just off the back of the teaser that was released, it was really great to see Tommy back in action. It was good to see the first bits of footage from Season 3, something that they finished filming a very long time ago. They were done filming Season 3 mid last year. They even had their wrap party back in July 2024. So it has been a very long time coming. It was great to see Tommy back on our screens even though it was just a 30-second teaser. It was raw, gritty as Power normally is, but more so Power Book 4 Force. They gave us action, classic Tommy Egan lines.
This some real El Chapo looking shit right here.
Yo, what's up? We're canceling Christmas. Shut it all down now.
I'm sure we'll also be hearing him mention he's going to be cancelling Christmas at some point in Season 3 as well. It's never a Tommy Egan season without him mentioning he's going to be cancelling Christmas. They also gave us a bit of everyone, minus a few characters like JP, Kate, and a couple of others. They touched on a few plot points, and all in all, it really got me excited, minus just one part, the release date. Now shout out to Mark Dark, because when I dropped my comment under the teaser, I was just kind of scrolling down the comment section and gauging the fans' opinion. As someone who's analysed Power over the last couple of years, it's kind of good to just see how the fans have taken the teaser and what they think. And then I saw Mark's comment, we need that release date. And that's because at the back end of the teaser it said, this fall. Now I'm not 100% sure why they haven't given us a release date as of yet. I'm still expecting Force Season 3 to premiere sometime at the end of September or beginning of October. But something that does stick in my mind is how they split Go Season 4 into 2 parts. And also when they mentioned Raising Kanan was coming in winter. And I guess it did come in winter, but it was literally right at the back end. But I can only assume that the release date will most likely now come with the official trailer, which in my opinion will most likely come around September-ish. With that being said, let's actually talk about the storyline and take a look at these first look images. But as always, starting with the description. Now this was a synopsis that was given in the Deadline article for Season 3. In Season 3, Tommy Egan is back with an ever-growing list of enemies. With the feds on his tail and street gangs trying to take him down, Tommy's strategic in his quest to take over Chicago's drug game, while also protecting the ones he loves the most. Tommy must poach customers from rivals if he has any chance at becoming Kingpin, all while battling Miguel Garcia's growing power and navigating an increasingly complex minefield of threats in the street. With a deepening divide within his coalition and his personal life under threat, Tommy must balance offense along with defense to survive and protect everything he's worked for. So that's the description for the final season of Force, the final season for Tommy in Chicago, the final season for probably most of these characters. I'm sure some will probably still be alive come the end, and I do think they probably will leave the door open for a return for 1 or 2. But in terms of the description, let's break it down piece by piece. We always know wherever Tommy is, there's going to be a lot of enemies. Hearing that he's going to have a growing list of enemies is honestly no surprise. There's Miguel Garcia, Shanti, King Kilo, and I'm sure there's also going to be others that causes him problems and make his drug business a bit more complex to kind of navigate. As always, the feds are also going to be hot on Tommy's heels. That's not a surprise to read one bit. We know how obsessed Stacey Marks was in catching Tommy Egan in Season 2, and Season 3 is going to be no different. I even have a feeling that she's someone who's probably going to start to toe the fine line that Cooper Sachs, Blanca Rodriguez, and Jenny Sullivan started to cross. Because Tommy is very slippery and smooth, she's going to find it very difficult to kind of catch him. She's going to have to find other means, and if it means throwing the book out the window, I wouldn't be surprised if she does so in Season 3. One way is also targeting loved ones. I think Tommy will always try and protect the ones that he loves. That's JP, Kate, D-Mac, and Maria. So if I were in Stacey Marks' shoes, I'd definitely be targeting one of them. I'd be thinking, can I get one of these guys to crack? Can I get one of these guys to turn on Tommy? Now, in terms of his organization, the streets, his business, we all know about Tommy's ambition dating all the way back to Power. When Felipe Lobos gave them an opportunity to take more product, Tommy wanted to jump at the chance, whereas Ghost was kind of the more cautious one who thought, how can they make it work with their infrastructure? If they take on X amount of product, they need X amount of more Primeras, territory, soldiers, and also additional transportation. Everything had to be looked at in a logical manner. In Chicago, Tommy's doing a bit of both, because there's been a lot of growth from the Tommy that we saw in Season 1 of Power to the Tommy that we now see in Chicago in Force. But in Season 3, he's going to be poaching customers from his rivals to stay on top. So I wouldn't actually be surprised to see him come up with some very clever ideas to actually poach these customers. But he's going to have a very big problem with rival crews, especially Miguel Garcia. They are actually teasing that Miguel's power is going to be growing. And because he's growing, the streets are going to be a lot more complex to navigate. You're also going to have to deal with the usual consequences of the streets as well. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of gang wars, guns, bullets, and violence. If someone's got customers and territory that you want, sometimes you're going to have to take it by force, no pun intended.
Look, if you need to expand, fuck a connect. You may need to think about taking that territory.
So we've seen countless of examples back in Power, and on Tommy's way to this power, he is going to have to take it, which to be honest, he's never been shy in that respect anyway. But it is going to be really interesting because they are teasing that Miguel Garcia is going to be quite powerful. So let's see how Tommy deals with Miguel, because there's also the added element of Maria to consider. And that brings me over to the final part of this synopsis. With a deepening divide within his coalition and his personal life under threat, Tommy must balance offense and defense to survive and protect everything that he's worked for. Now this is one of the most difficult things to do when you're in the game, balancing a double life. And it is actually what Holly warned Tommy back in season 2 in that hallucination. You can't have both. You can't love and be in the game at the same time. So when we go back to the double life, we often think one foot in, one foot out, just like Ghost had back in Power, or Tariq in Ghost. Being a legit businessman and being in the game at the same time. But in essence, Tommy also has a double life himself. A double life that's probably equally as difficult to navigate, if not more. Because you're talking about people that he loves. You're talking about characters like Maria, JP, Kate, and D-Mac. When you have threats and enemies in the streets, one of the first things they're going to look to target is your weaknesses, and that's your loved ones. We spoke about law enforcement and Stacey Marks potentially targeting Tommy's family. It's happened before back in Power. We've seen countless of examples across Power, Ghost, Raising Kanan, where people have targeted loved ones, because having this balance in the world of Power that he's in, it really is difficult. So he is going to have to find that right balance between being offensive and defensive, not just to survive, but to protect his organization, but at the same time, protect everybody that he loves. Now considering it is the last and final season of Force, I do think everybody is fair game, apart from Tommy himself. So who knows what happens to JP, Kate, Maria, or even D-Mac? I'm not saying all of them will catch a bullet, but this is Power, and when have we ever seen Tommy catch a break? When have we ever seen Tommy get a happy ending to his story arc with a loved one? So this last part of the synopsis, it does give us a reminder that Tommy does need to be very careful of fractions within his organization, but also his own double life that will cause him a lot of problems with the people that he loves, but just some food for thought. With that being said, moving on to the first look images. So we've got Tommy with Shanti. I do think this probably is in Shanti's gym, but wherever it is, it doesn't change the fact that Tommy does need to watch his back when it comes to Shanti. I do at some point also expect him to figure out what she's up to, and then I fully expect him to flip the script. I have no doubt in my mind Shanti definitely won't be getting the better of Tommy. In the short term, while he's angry and dealing with the fallout of Miguel taking Maria, she might sense an opportunity to maybe strike, but come the end, I am expecting Tommy to come out on top, and I do actually have Shanti as one of my death predictions. We've also got Tommy with the CBI, with Jannard glancing at Tommy in the background, and he's also one of the characters Tommy needs to watch. He's been working very closely with Shanti behind Tommy's back, got back in good with the CBI because of Diamond. They built their bond back up after their father's death, and that's something that will most likely continue in season 3, with Gary Leonard teasing one of the themes being blood being thicker than water, and that's one of the other exclusive images. But it is going to be really interesting to see how it all unfolds, because Shanti's plan is to take out both Tommy and Diamond, and then take the CBI. So I do think Jannard is going to have a very big role to play in season 3, and I think he might just surprise everyone. Even though he's been at odds with Tommy for a large portion of Force, I wouldn't actually be surprised if he does flip the script on Shanti as well. But last but not least, we've also got Tommy coming face to face with Miguel Garcia. And with this one, in my mind, there's only one winner. Shay's told them to play nice in the streets. Friendly competition is healthy because it's going to fill all their pockets. But deep down, we know what Tommy wants. He knows Miguel is standing in his way of not just becoming the biggest drug dealer in Chicago, but he's also standing in his way when it comes to Maria. And that's what makes this rivalry really complex. Maria. 2-Bit said it back in Power when Tommy brought Lakeisha to the warehouse. When you start mixing your love life and your drug business, it never ends well. But this is a battle that I am expecting to rumble on deep into season 3. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be moments where Miguel Garcia looks like he's on top. There's going to be moments where Tommy's going to be on top. But the main thing is, who's going to be standing tall come the end? I think we all know the answer. Or do they genuinely have a big twist where Tommy doesn't come out as the winner? And by that, I mean maybe he does become the kingpin, but in the process, he loses Maria, JP, or a couple of loved ones in the process. Can you really consider it a win if you lose the ones you love? But that's a breakdown of where we are with the synopsis for season 3, along with the first look images. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Now that we've had a bit of time to digest the teaser, along with the synopsis and the first look images, let me know where you stand with your early thoughts and predictions. As always, as I do a rewatch for season 1 and 2, I'll keep the weekly breakdowns rolling for Force, Raising Kanan, and also other things like Power Origins and Power Legacy. With that being said, drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.